Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some PathOfExile discussion. Grinding Gear Games today announced the November events in detail. There are going to be 3 of them. They are on an unusual schedule, with the first one running for 10 days and starting with a traditional league start time. Then the next 2 of them running for 7 days and starting 3 days offset from when a league start would normally be. So we have Mayhem starting November 4 in the United States, November 5 in Australia. Then we have Endless Delve starting on November 14 or 15, which is a Monday or Tuesday, and then Delirium Everywhere, which is also running from a Monday on Tuesday to another Monday or Tuesday. These events are all voided. This means that your progression in them will not progress to either Standard or the Calandra League, and you will not be able to work on Calandra expansion challenges during these events. One thing that's important to note is that these have been overhauled since the last time they ran. Really, it looks like Delirium Everywhere has got a substantial rework, and Endless Delve has had a modest one. GGG's goal here that they state for picking which events to run was trying to run somewhat of a balance of different events that appeal to different people. So you have Mayhem that is going to appeal to those people that just want to have maximum loot per zone. You got Endless Delve, which is super restrictive and totally transformative of the game. As a result, it's tended to be my favorite of these 3 events. And then you got Delirium Everywhere, which was a complete and utter mess in 2021, but the reworks do look like they will solve some of the problems for it. So the main problem with Delirium Everywhere back in the 2021 version was that every time you tried to do the Warden's Prison, it was 97% delirious. So you had to fight Brutus when 97% delirium was in effect, when your character really wasn't strong enough to do that. It's not that this was some overwhelming barrier that no one was able to pass or anything like that, but it meant that the fight took literally 15 times as long as it's intended to, and as a result they have capped the amount of delirium that is possible to get in the axe, which is exactly the problem that Delirium Everywhere needed to solve. Assuming, of course, that they do succeed in getting the numbers right, and on that we're going to have to see. We're not really going to know until the event has started. Once you get into maps, then you'll have more agency over which particular delirium levels you want to take on at any given point. And if you know that a map has a very high delirium level, then you can take it on with very easy mods in order to get your Atlas bonus, or alternately you can just work elsewhere. In terms of other changes, one thing GGG learned out of the 2021 events is that they shouldn't incentivize people to play all 5 of them as it was then, or all 3 of them as it is now. So there's been in the past a prize for hitting level 50 in each of these events, where you received one of the whatever the current mystery box was. Obviously a mystery box is a pretty tiny prize, but for some reason some people were incentivized to chase these things down, and a number of people kept complaining that they were not having fun, especially in the harder events like Gauntlet. Well, GGG have taken that feedback on and they have listened, and some people will not be happy with this. They're making it so that you can now only get one of the free mystery boxes instead of 1 per event. Really what they're saying here is pick one of these events that looks fun to you and play it seriously, and ignore the other 2, or maybe dabble in the other 2 at most if they just look like they could be a little bit of fun, or if you've got a bit of free time during those days. I would highly recommend that people do that. I don't recommend most people play all 3 of these events. You'll know if you've got the time to do it, but for most people, just pick 1 or 2 of them that look fun and play that. There's a number of MTX prizes that are available for reaching various level thresholds. I highly recommend players just completely disregard that these exist, as it's pretty normal for there to be at least 20,000 people that reach level 85, and at least 5,000 that reach level 90, and 2,000 or 3,000 that reach level 95. And in all those cases, you're not going to have a very high chance of winning one of these prizes, and if you do win it, it's probably not going to be the one you want. So for that reason, just treat these prizes as though they don't exist. If you do happen to win one, well, bonus. So let's have a quick look at the events themselves. November 4th is Mayhem. Each zone will have an alignment to one of the past league mechanics. These are Anarchy, Invasion, Breach, Ambush, Torment, Harbinger, Delirium, and Scourge. And these will be pushed up, 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 up in magnitude. So in each zone, you'll encounter one of the following scenarios: 20 Rogue Exiles, 20 Strongboxes, 20 Invasion Bosses, 10 Breaches, 20 Tormented Spirits, 20 Harbingers, 1 Mirror of Delirium, or enemies that have a chance to spawn beyond demons when they're slaying close to each other. Now each zone in Rayclass will have one of these mods, and which mod will change on the hour every hour. As well as this, there will be 2 mods from a pool of mods that increase danger of monsters in the area. These mods will change every hour. So basically Mayhem is appropriately named. Every zone is going to be pretty chaotic. When you're playing this, you generally want to be quite a bit higher level than you would be when you're tackling a zone in the normal game, and you will also be much more geared. because just destroying things like Rogue Exiles or Ghost-possessed rare monsters will actually give a lot more loot than you would normally get going through the storyline. In that sense, you'll probably be about as geared as you were during 3.18 Sentinel League when you get to endgame. And then once you get to endgame, you'll progress a little bit slower than you normally would because, again, there's going to be so many more wild things in each zone. Additionally, this is an event that really incentivizes playing a super strong, super meta character, and especially one that's quite versatile and that can do bosses. The other thing that should be noticed is that Rogue Exiles have been buffed since the last time this event was run. They are no longer a joke to fight. They now have hit points that are reasonably in line with half of what a map boss would have. And as a result, the 20 Rogue Exiles is no longer going to be a joke where you just one-tap every one of them. Some of them will actually live long enough to fight back. I think this event will be a lot of fun, and fortunately, just based on the timing, it's the one that I have the most time to play, so I'm definitely going to give this one a shot. I haven't really played Mayhem seriously in a long time. Next is Endless Delve. This has been run in the past a lot, and it is being changed a little bit here, but it is basically the same event that it's been in the past. Now, Endless Delve provides you with a specific unique weapon that you cannot otherwise get, and some of these are really strong. In fact, the shield is something that was used by a lot of very high-level characters, even very late in the last league, in the last Endless Delve event. It's something that people continue to use for a very long time. You will get all of the skill points you would get throughout the campaign. They'll be fed to you every time you hit a multiple of levels. You'll also get all your lab ascendancies as you're leveling up as well. One thing that changed since the 2020 incarnation of Endless Delve is that you have access to all the gems and all of the currency trades that are available from NPCs in the game. However, there's a number of things that just don't do anything useful at all. So for example, one of the main loot sources in the various Delve cities is everything related to mapping, but you can't use maps, you can't use awakened sextants, you can't do anything really with them at all. One other thing is that you're forced to take the reward for killing all of the bandits. Now, this event is solo self-found only, so keep that in mind, and you will not have access to your crafting bench. So this ends up being a very restrictive type of gameplay, very different to the core game, but it tends to be one of the most popular when GGG have run it in the past. In the 2021 events, this was the most played of the 5 events by a fairly wide margin, with the only one that came remotely close to it being Gauntlet. Next, we have Delirium Everywhere, which has been overhauled considerably. It's really needed it because it was a broken mess last time. Now, Delirium Everywhere is broadly speaking going to be harder than the normal game. Monsters are going to be buffed in zones, new monsters are going to spawn, and you will also get the reward bars filling with kills in these zones. This looks like it will be a slightly slower paced game than the core game because you will wind up in a situation where some zones will have 40, 50, 60% delirium, but will have an important boss in them that you need to beat in order to progress. And those zones will take some time in order to progress past, because that boss will be very defensive. One thing I would suggest, if you've never played hardcore before and you want to just do something different and wild, maybe give this a go on hardcore and just see how far you can get. Not with any view of I'm going to keep playing this until I get through the entire storyline and maybe take down the Eternal Labyrinth. No, just go as far as you're having fun and then walk away from the event and take a break until 3.20 comes out. I do think this will be an interesting way to play this event. Anyways, that's all the info on the events. I will put a link down in the description below that will contain all the info on these events with the FAQ, everything that we know about it. But one thing that you may want to keep in mind is that this is not going to be in any way tied to the Lake of Calandra League. It'll be tied to standard, and that means that any progress you make during these events will not count towards challenges that you might have outstanding in the Calandra expansion. As a result, I've decided I'm not going to do that 6,000 map mods challenge, and I'm not going to do endgame grinds this league. Had I been able to do those in Mayhem or Delirium Everywhere, then I might have committed to doing those. But as it is, I'm just going to get my 38 challenges and be done. That's all I've got. May your Val Orbs have interesting results, and I will see you around.